Brought to you by ASICS Volleyball Shoes. Don't just do it better with ASICS. Volleyball is truly the sport of the 90s, and the University of Hawaii volleyball program is recognized as a leader in the sport's development. Head coach Dave Shoji and his fine staff have made the Rainbows a national powerhouse year in and year out. His coaching methods and understanding of the basics of the game are sure to make your individual skill level improve. Whether it's high school competition, collegiate, recreational, or in the sand, volleyball, you'll dig it.
Volleyball is one of the most exciting sports to play. It's also one of the fastest growing sports in the world. In this video, we're going to show you how to become a good, sound, fundamental volleyball player. I'm happy to have Alan Rosehill, coach of the men's team here at the University of Hawaii, Todd Harrison, a former player here, and a former All-American Suzanne Agee. Together, we're going to show you the basic fundamentals of the serve, the spike, the block, the pass, the set, and individual defense. So let's get started.
Forearm passing is one of the most important skills to master as a young volleyball player. Because the pass initiates practically every play, learning good form and technique is paramount.
Every time you play the ball below your shoulders, you must play it in what we call the bump or the forearm pass. Remember now, you can't use the palms of your hands. You must use the forearms. This is what we call the platform, and I'll show you how to get into a good platform position. First of all, take your hands like you're going to take a drink of water from a faucet, and fold your thumbs over so that they're parallel. Okay, make sure the hands do not come apart here. Take a firm grip here. Next, point your hands down towards the floor, and your elbows should pop up in this area. Okay, the platform is from this area right above the wrist to below the elbow, right in here. To get a good platform, also try to rotate your forearms so you get more of a fleshy portion facing the ball. Your elbows are locked or hyperextended. Your shoulders are hunched and forward. Your body position is important also. You should bend at the waist and the knees. So you're bent over here and bent at the knees. The stance is also important. You'd like to be a little staggered with the right foot slightly forward. The important thing to do when passing is try to keep the ball right in front of your body, right along the midline, and pass the ball. Of course, the ball doesn't always come right to you, so let's take a look at what you do and how to get to the side and pass the ball. We take what we call a little hop, and then we get in our position again. Just a little hop, and then she's set with her right foot forward. Okay, let's take a look at it going to the left. So a little hop and set. Notice she also did not swing her arms. Arms are almost stationary. She lets the ball hit her arms. Her arms are about a 45-degree angle to the floor. If the ball is more than one step away, we take what we call a step and then a hop. A cross step and then a hop. Cross and then a hop. Cross and then a hop. All the time, her arms are away from her body, and she does not swing her arms. This makes the pass go low and towards the net, and not up and in the middle of the court. Another important thing to remember is the angle of the arms. The angle of the arm should be about 45 degrees to the floor. and about 1 to 1.5 feet away from the body. This prevents your arms from swinging up to meet the ball. If you swing, the ball tends to rise too high or possibly go over the net. So let the ball hit your arms with very little movement here. The legs are bent, and you can gradually stand up to meet the ball. Whenever you can't play the ball along the midline of your body, it's necessary to reach across your body and drop the opposite shoulder. Suzanne is leaning to her left, but dropping the right shoulder and facing her platform back to the target. Step in that direction, drop the opposite shoulder, and try to turn the platform back to the target. When receiving the serve, always anticipate the ball coming to you. That way you won't be surprised when it actually comes to you. The other thing is that you need good communication with your teammates. So always call mine when you think the ball is your ball. Okay, we were trying to get a low pass right at the net. Notice how Susie stays down even after she passes the ball. She does not lift up. And most of her passes are low and directly at the net. Notice how she stays down even after she passes the ball. This ensures that the ball is going to come out nice and low and to the net. Also watch her footwork. She's trying to get that little hop or play the ball in the middle of her body. If it's to her side or to the front, she still takes the hop and stays low, and her arms are always away from her body. She's not swinging her arms. She's letting the ball hit her arms. Shoulders are hunched over. She has good footwork. Here's a drill you can do with just a partner. You pass yourself and then pass your partner. This gets the angle of the arms involved. To pass it to yourself, you have to have your arms almost straight parallel to the floor. Then go back to the 45 degrees to pass it to your partner. This is just a good ball handling drill, one that gets you to control the ball. We can modify this drill by passing it to yourself, taking a half turn, and then passing it back to your partner using a side bump. Pass it yourself, turn, and bump it back to your partner. When you turn, you have to drop the inside shoulder to get the ball or the platform facing your partner again. Turn left the first time and then turn right the next time, and alternate the way you turn. Pass yourself, turn, drop the shoulder, face the platform to your partner, bump it to your partner. The other thing we can do here is to pass it to yourself and then take a half turn and bump it back to your partner. Okay, so you have to pass it straight up, turn, bend your knees, and bump it over your head. Okay, again, this drill is mainly, we're concerned with handling the ball and being able to control the ball. The other thing we can do, and this is very difficult to do, is pass it to yourself and make a complete turn and then pass it to your partner. Okay, we're just trying to pass it straight up, turn, and find your partner and try to control the ball.
The serve initiates play and is the first means of attacking your opponent. There are 3 basic serve techniques: the underhand serve, the overhand spin and floater serves, and the most advanced serve technique, the jump serve.
Okay, let's look at the underhand serve. It's the most basic of serves in volleyball. It involves a very simple technique, tossing the ball and addressing it underhand, and obviously getting it over the net to attempt to score a point.
From the ready position, your striking arm is at a 45-degree angle. Address the ball as you step forward. The ball can be hit directly out of the hand, or a slight toss can be added. It is important to contact the ball with a complete follow-through, enabling a weight transfer through the ball for maximum power. For added power, a two-step approach is appropriate for novice players.
With the overhand serve, the positioning of the arms is very important. The opposite hand is going to hold the ball, but it's important that the arm is out in front of the actual hitting shoulder, so the arm would not be outside here or down here. It would actually be right here at eye level, leading the hitting arm. So in this case, a right-handed server would have the ball tossed directly in front of the right shoulder, so he can address it for a straight down the line serve as well as a cross-court serve. So here Todd will assume a position very much resembling the drawing of a bow in archery. So his arm comes back. In this position, he's coiled, ready to serve the ball, and the ball would be resting here out in front of him, and would be a simple motion of tossing the ball slightly in the air, and then he would contact it out in front of him.
Much like in the underhand serve, it is important to step forward through the ball with a complete weight shift. It takes more strength to propel a ball overhand, so you must explode at the point of contact. By hitting the ball at different striking points, your overhand serve will give different results. For a basic overhand serve, contact the ball in the center.
So to have a variety in one serving technique, it's easy for a receiving team to get accustomed to a particular serve, and at that point you would want to change. Here Jimmy's using a spin serve, but he's also capable of serving a floater. He can drive this deep, serve it short, and cut the ball in a variety of ways to make it spin in different directions. They can serve a top spin ball, hitting it on the top portion of the ball. They can hit a reverse spin, hitting it right and spinning the ball left to right. They can also hit it on the inside of the ball, reversing the spin of it, hitting left, or rather the ball moving right to left, from the interior of the court to the out reaches of the court. So with spin, you add a variety of complications to the ball and making it much more difficult for serve reception. The floater serve has a very similar effect to a knuckleball in baseball. It moves up and down, left to right, gets caught up in air currents in assorted gyms. So you have, in effect, a very difficult serve to receive. And with the float, it makes the passer have to focus and concentrate and move the ball, therefore causing him all kinds of difficulties. So the floater is a very crucial serve. The float serve is very effective in serving, and it's achieved by a rapid motion to the ball, accelerating to the point of contact and stopping your motion altogether. You are not using a complete follow-through. You're actually stopping on the point of contact, causing the ball to float as a knuckler in baseball. It's very important you accelerate and stop. You can't toss with a spin. You want to take a very simple toss in the air, and basically you're taking all the spin out of the ball and causing it to not have any motion. Here our server is going to take a step forward as normal. He's going to address the ball using a rapid motion, but in that case he followed through. Here we want him to pop the ball, accelerating to it and stopping. We're now going to progress to a rather exciting element of the serving game, the jump serve. This has been introduced primarily by the Brazilians. They use it to score points directly off a serve, and if hit very effectively, it can in fact score a quick point. And in essence, it's a kill from 30 feet off the net. The jump serve is effective because you're adding velocity to the ball as if you're spiking it. The server is approaching very much like a hit, They're using a high extension to contact the ball, using a top spin swing to bring it back to the court. The toss is important because it has to be out in front, high enough to get your maximum arm swing. The important thing to remember is you cannot step on the back line. That constitutes a foot foul. The servers are staying well behind the line, but you may, in fact, lead yourself into the court, jumping behind the back line, landing into the court.
Setting is the finesse skill of volleyball. A great setter is every bit as important as a great spiker, because without a great set, there won't be an effective spike.
Now, even though you may not be a setter, everyone should learn the proper method to set. The first thing to remember when you're setting is that the ball can never touch the palms of your hand. We need to touch the ball with the fingertips only. To form the good hand position, spread your fingers and cup your hands. You're going to touch the ball with all 10 fingers when you set the ball. Your hands should form a window right above your forehead. If the ball should come down and you took your hands away, the ball would hit you on the forehead. So that's the position your hands should be in. You also need to bend your legs. Your legs give you power as well as your arms. And when you set the ball, your arms and legs extend at the same time. Let's go over the main points of setting. The hands are spread, or fingers are spread, and the hand is cupped. The hands form a window right above the forehead. The ball is contacted close to the forehead, and the arms extend, and the ball is flung out with a flick of the wrist. Arms and legs extend at the same time. A good way to make sure that you extend your arms is to keep your arms extended for just a split second after you set the ball. Part of being a good setter is getting to the ball. So we work a lot on footwork. And we take that little hop and get our stance, which is slightly staggered with the right foot forward, and square to the target, and then perform the skill. So she gets to the ball, turns, and sets the ball. She gets to the ball and turns and sets. Let's make it a little more difficult where she has to run, turn, and set the ball. Run, turn, and set. She always squares to her target. In other words, her shoulders face exactly where she wants the ball to go. Remember, the legs and arms extend at the same time, and she tries to push the ball very high. One of the important things a setter must always try to do is square her shoulders to the target. I'm the target. Suzanne must square her shoulders right before she sets the ball to me. So she must get to the ball, turn, and set the ball. Make it a little tougher now, Howard. Run, turn, and set. All the time she's using good form, good technique, hands are spread, arms and legs extend at the same time, and she pushes the ball very high. Turn and set. Very nice. Notice she always squares away. Even though she's a little bit late to the ball, she squares as she sets the ball. She also tries to square her feet if at all possible. But there are times when her feet won't be square, but her shoulders can be. But the important thing is she gets to the ball and turns. Let's take a look at the back set. The back set is a little more advanced, but it's necessary so we have more options as an offensive team. We need to square the shoulders just like we did for the forward set. In other words, if we're going to back set, we square the shoulders to our target area in this area. Okay, the hand position is basically the same. We need to have the ball come down near the forehead, just like we're going to front set. The only difference now is that instead of her arms going forward, her arms now go back. And she sets the ball directly over her head in this manner. Okay. Her hips go forward. Her hips go forward, she arches her back, and she flings her arms behind her. Okay. Hands high, hips forward, and step forward, and back set. Susie, why don't you get in the setting position, and I'll be the hitter on the right side, and we'll set a few back sets. Okay, she squares away to the back area, takes the ball very high, her hands go back, hips forward, and she arches her back. Hips forward and arch back. Very nice. She moves to the ball, squares her shoulders, hands are high. Do not touch the ball in the palms of your hand, but the fingertips, and flicks her wrist behind her. Ball goes directly over her head, right behind her.
The most exciting offensive play in volleyball is the spike, also known as a hit or kill shot. It involves split-second timing, upper body strength, coordination, and jumping ability. It is the primary offensive weapon, and its purpose is to score points and side out in serve-receive.
That's a great hit, Todd. Now that's a spike. The most offensive part of the game of volleyball today involves quickness, jumping ability, agility. All of these things are used to create a successful spike. Before one begins attacking the ball, it's very important to warm up the hitting arms. And you can do this by virtually throwing the ball, simulating the offensive motion that you'll be using. You're going to be rotating your arm forward continuously through a match. So one warm-up method would be a simple ball toss, using a full extension, arm out in front. Your opposite hand would come as if you were leading into the hit, stepping forward and extending out with your throwing arm. The hitter must assume a ready position at all times, and it's very similar to a track start position, knees bent, arms comfortably out in front. And at this point, he must assume that the set may be coming his direction. He would start with his right foot, take a short second left foot step, another right foot, then a gather, and now you notice his arms go way back in a 45-degree angle with a deep knee bend squatting position. He's going to now change his forward direction to a upward movement to generate his jump. His arms help to elevate him in the air. He's also going to coil his hitting arm back to get ready to attack the ball, and in this process, come forward with his hitting arm, dropping his lead or extending arm, and address the ball out in front of him. In the process of hitting, the hitter must adjust to whatever set he has to deal with. If it's high, he must wait on it, keeping it out in front of him. If it's a low set, he must quickly adjust to the ball. That time the set was inside, Todd came into it, executed the hit. Here it is, back outside, Todd goes back to the ball. Regular set. It's high enough, he can reach. A setter has to make many decisions on the court, and one of his possible decisions as a front row player is to set the ball or, on occasion, actually hit the ball. So we will demonstrate a front row setter, in fact, dumping a good pass to the net where he becomes a hitter in the offense. We have a pass, the setter, instead of setting, will go ahead and dump the ball. So he has to make a quick decision. Does he set this good pass, or will he in fact hit it? So defenses must always be aware of where the setter is at all times, because when they're in the front row, they can in fact attack the ball at any time. Here our setter is demonstrating the attack or dump. Another choice the hitter may make is to use a tip or dink shot. Our hitter here is demonstrating a finger-controlled soft shot or dink. The tip cannot be held. It must quickly be released from the fingers so it doesn't become a thrown ball.
Often referred to as digging, backline defense is the most heroic of volleyball skills. Nullifying the attacker's hit will keep your team in the game.
For me, defense is the most exciting part of volleyball. It can keep your team in a match, even though your hitting and blocking may be off. And for the smaller player, it's a way to make a contribution to your team. In order to be a good defensive player, you must have a very good stance. The feet should be spread just a little bit wider than shoulder width. The weight should be forward and on the inside part of the feet. The outside part of the feet can actually come off the ground. That way you're going to ensure that the weight is on the inside portion of your feet. Okay, and a little bit on the toes. You want to be forward and have your knees flexed. Now your knees line up inside the ankles. So you're actually a little bit knock-kneed. Now the reason for this is that we want to be able to push off and go in each direction equally. Your weight should be distributed equally on both feet. If you have weight on one foot, it's really hard to push off that foot. Once we get into our stance, the next thing you ought to think about is keeping your back fairly straight. In other words, we'll stand up and then go straight down with your knees bent, but your back straight. You can't be bent over too much at the waist because you can't see the ball. So back is fairly straight, knees are flexed, and arms are off to the side.